Good morning, student. I am Mr. A. Shukla, and today we'll be taking mathematics for class 9th, unit 5, Introduction to Euclid Geometry. In this, it is introduction, then contribution of different civilizations, Euclid's definition, axioms and postulate, Euclid's axiom and Euclid's postulate. The introduction part. In this chapter, we'll be studying the history, how the geometry has developed. Then geometry is actually a Greek word. It's a combination of two words, geo meaning earth and metri means to measure. It was studied by the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Babylon, China, India and Greece, Inca, etc. The geometry was actually a practical oriented language field and it was studied in unsystematic manner. The contribution of different civilization. The first is Egyptian civilization. Egyptian developed a number of geometrical techniques and rules for calculating simple areas and also for doing constructions, especially when the boundaries of the field was wiped out due to flood in Nile, and for calculating volumes of granaries and for construction of canals and pyramids. Then the Indian civilization. In Indian subcontinent, the Indus Valley civilization was highly organized. They developed well-planned cities and streets and lanes and roads running parallel and underground drainage system. They also used brick used in construction of house, which were clean fired and had a ratio of 4:2:1, that is length is to breadth is to thickness. The Babylonian civilization could use sundials, could use sun, moon and stars very carefully and could forecast the future based on these studies. They made lunar calendars and had sundials and water clock for measuring of time. The water clock is shown in the figure. The Chinese civilization were able to calculate by using abacus, calculated time by shadow clock and first flying objects like kites and common lanterns, which are shown. They were able to record the observation of comet, solar eclipse and supernovas. The Incas built building using stones without using mortar. Instead used only stones cut so well that they fitted perfectly. They used Euclid system of knotted ropes for keeping records of various things. The Greeks mathematician Thales is credited for giving proof that a circle is bisected by its diameter, and his famous student Pythagoras discovered many geometrical properties and developed the theory for geometry to a great extent. Now coming to the Euclid's definition, axioms and postulate. Euclid's and Egyptian mathematicians collected all the known work and arranged in his famous thesis called Elements, which were divided into 13 chapters or books. His first book had 23 definitions and they are given over here one by one, and please pay attention to the pink color words because they are not defined. Okay, so please we'll start with the first one. Point is that which has no part. A straight line is breadthless length. The ends of a line are points. A straight line is that which lies evenly with the points on itself. A surface is that which has length and breadth only. The edges of a surface are lines. A plane surface is a surface which lies evenly with the straight line itself. A plane angle is the inclination of one another, a plane angle is the inclination of one another of two lines in a plane which meet one another and do not lie in a straight line. And ninth is, and when the lines containing the angles are straight, the angle is called rectilinear. When a straight line is standing on a straight line makes the adjacent angle equal to one another, each of the equal angle is right, that is right angle, and the straight line standing on the other is called perpendicular to that on which it stands. So this is actually the perpendicular line. And an obtuse angle is an angle greater than right angle. Now we are defining the obtuse angle with the help of a right angle. Then an acute angle is an angle which is less than a right angle. A boundary is that which is an extremity of anything. Figure is that which is contained by any boundary or boundaries. Now these are all interrelated and one after the other they are being defined. A circle is a plane figure contained by one line such that all the straight line falling upon it from a point among those lying within the figure equal one. Now the 16th is, and the point is called the center of the circle. The 17th is, a diameter of a circle is any straight line drawn through the center and terminated in both directions by the circumference of the circle, and such a straight line also bisects the circle. Next is, a semicircle is the figure contained by the diameter and the circumference cut off by it, and the center of the semicircle is the same as that of the circle. Then rectilinear figures are those which are contained by the straight lines. Trilateral figures are those contained by three lines. Quadrilateral are those which are contained by four lines, and multilateral are those which are contained by more than four lines. Of trilateral figures, an equilateral triangle is that which has three sides, all the sides are equal. Isosceles triangle is that which has two sides equal. A scalene triangle is that in which none of the sides are equal to each other. Further, a trilateral figure is a right angle triangle, that is actually which is having a right angle. And obtuse angle triangle is that which has an obtuse angle, and an acute angle triangle is that which has all the three angles acute. The 22nd is, a quadrilateral figure is a square is that if both equilateral and right angle, that is all the sides are equal and all the angles are equal. And oblong, that which is right angled but not equilateral. Wherever the term equilateral is there, that is for the sides. That is, this is actually basically a rectangle in which the adjacent sides are not equal but the opposite sides are equal, and right angled, all the angles are right angled. A rhombus is that which is equilateral but not right angled. Rhombus is very clear, all the sides are equal but the angles are not equal. And a rhomboid, that which has opposite sides and angles equal and other than but neither equilateral, not sides are not equal nor and the angles are not right angle. This is actually a parallelogram. And the last is the called a trapeze. Rest all the quadrilaterals are called trapeze. Then 23rd is, parallel straight lines are straight lines which, being in the same plane and being produced indefinitely in both directions, do not meet one another in either directions. So it is seen that the terms written in pink or bold are not defined. So mathematicians agreed to leave these geometrical terms undefined. Euclid assumed certain properties which were not to be proved and were obvious universal truth. He divided them into two types, axioms and postulate. Then Euclid's axioms. The term postulates for the assumptions that were specific to geometry. Only for geometry, the terms that we use, assumptions which are universally true, are known as postulates, and the terms axiom for assumptions that are used throughout the mathematics and not specifically linked to geometry. So axioms can be used anywhere in the mathematics. They are generally taken as universal truth. So some of the Euclid's axiom, there are 7 of them, are stated here. Things which are equal to the same thing are equal to one another. That is, if A is equal to B and C is equal to B, then A is equal to C. The second is, if equals are added to equal, the whole are equal. Example, if A is equal to B and D is added to both A and B, then A plus D is equal to B plus D. Similarly, if equals are subtracted from equal, the remainders are equal. Same way as 2 we can define this. Then things which coincide with one another are equal to one another. Now this is the equality that is showing once they coincide with each other is equal. Then the whole is greater than the part. Now over here the term greater than, now we are using the symbol also for that, greater than is used, greater or lesser. Then things which are double to the same thing are equal to one another. This also we can use the example as stated above. Then things which are half of the same thing are equal to one another. So these are the axioms that are used basically in mathematics, throughout the mathematics. Now coming to the Euclid's postulate, there are 5 of them. 5 postulates given by Euclid's are: a straight line may be drawn from any one point to any other point. Second is, a terminated line can be produced indefinitely. A circle can be drawn with any center and any radius. All right angles are equal to one another. And the most important is the 5th one. If a straight line falling onto a straight line makes the interior angle on the same side of it taken together less than 2 right angles, then the 2 straight line, if produced indefinitely, meets on that side on which the sum of angle is less than 2 right angles. Now postulate 1 to 4 are self-evident truth, and postulate 5 is complex and it should be given more attention because we will be using it more for proving that the lines are parallel or not. Using postulate and axioms, Euclid's proved other results. Using deductive reasoning, Euclid was able to prove 465 propositions or theorems using logical chain of axiom and postulate and definitions. This is all for this chapter. Thank you.